In this final discussion of cropping, I want to continue our discussion, but I want to focus on asymmetry in particular and show you some examples where we can reverse asymmetry and really change the compositional focus of the image. Let's start here on this sunrise image of Kachemak Bay. And this is a view across Kachemak Bay from my house. Winter sunrises are just spectacular. And we look at this image, it's visually compelling. Boom, it just hits you in the face. We've talked about how visually compelling color is. And at first think, wow, that's spectacular. You know, when you really look at the composition, when I look at this and I think, wow, that's visually spectacular, but where is my eye drawn? It's to the sky and only to the sky. And I have to almost force myself to look down at these spectacular mountains with the beautiful Grewing Glacier and Kachemak Bay subtly displayed down here. My eye is just, there's so much color here. So what I would like to do is really change the focus of the image. I'd like to be more on the mountains, but I still want to keep the punch of the sky. Plus, look at the sky up here. It's all color and no detail, all right? So at the very least, we could come down here and get rid of most of that color and just have the area of detail. But, you know, for me, even that is just way too much sky. And we're starting to move the mountain horizon line towards the center of the image. So I think I would prefer to bring that horizon line down here, not too tight. All right, we still want to keep the sky, give it plenty of breathing room to, emphasize that verticality of the mountains, even though we've got a nice horizontal image. I like the amount of space that the water has here. That's very nice. We'll make it a little bit top heavy because of the color. That's fine. But now when I hit this and we go back to here and we compare these two images, well, what a difference, right? This is all sky heavy with very little emphasis on the mountains. This image becomes about the mountains with the sky being a highlight. But your eye really focuses on the mountains a lot more here. And notice that since we're switching the asymmetry from top to bottom and we're removing most of the top of the image, this now becomes a beautiful panorama that further emphasizes this gorgeous eye line with all this detail across it, where it's kind of lost here because of that huge sky. So here cropping is immensely important. All right, on this image, this is kind of a similar challenge. When you look at this, go, well, this is another one with sky, Taz, and it's true enough, it is. All right, but there's something else to talk about here, and that is the balance between foreground and background. On the last image that we looked at, remember, we had a sky-heavy image when we finally ended up. Less so than the beginning, but still pretty heavy on the sky, which was fine. On this image, I'm going to get rid of most of that sky. All right? I mean, even if I'm going to put type in here, I'm going to get rid of probably that much. But if I'm not going to have type, it's just about the landscape, I'm going to get rid of most of my sky. Leave just a little cushion. I always look at the narrowest area, not so much over here, but the narrowest area. I'll switch back and forth. And already you can see an improvement in the image, looking more and more like a panorama. But then the critical thing that we're adding here is this discussion of sky versus foreground balance. What do I want? Do I want more of a foreground heavy image or more emphasis on the sky? And even though there's no detail in the sky, there's precious little detail in the snow. And there's already so much white. And you see by having more white here, it really kind of detracts from the visual impact of the snow on the mountain. So I'm going to scoot this up here and just give it a little bit just in the foreground. You could even do this. You know, that's not a bad looking image, but I think it's a little scraggly. So I'm going to give it just a little bit of a white border there and then hit the OK key. And then we'll go back and we'll compare our two images and two completely different images, right? This one is visually not particularly spectacular at all. And the reason is we can see dead space, and this just gets lost in this sandwich of all this heaviness. Where this is a pretty nice looking panorama that we've created we could use in a variety of different ways. All right, and then let's take a look at a little bit different kind of image. Let's take an underwater image. And when we first look at this, this is a visually impressive image because of all the warmth in the foreground, and I love the deep blue in the background. And this was shot with a flash, by the way, intentionally to light up the foreground to bring in warmth because all those long, warm wavelengths get absorbed by the water, which is why the background is all blue. So we create a nice contrast right off the bat by lighting up the foreground. So I like this contrast, and there's some nice separation here among many of these elements. What I don't like is it's so darn centered. And also, contrast is nice back here, but it's a little much. So we can still keep that nice contrast, but get rid of a lot of that. And when you pull in a crop like this, look around the edge and you'll often see, wow, that's all dead space. We don't need any of that at all. And in fact, you don't. And notice that this creates a very nice asymmetry. You might want to get rid of a little bit of the foreground or not. On this particular one, I might just pull up the bottom a little bit. Why? Because this is a nice feature right here. There's enough separation here. So I could pull this up just a little bit. I've got lots of different options here that I can make, and then hit OK, and let's go back and take a look at the difference between these two. And notice that we've gotten rid of a lot of this unnecessary blue space, but it still creates the nice contrast. And we've created a bit more asymmetry, which again makes this a more dynamic image. And then finally, we'll create our virtual copy. We'll go to our crop tool. And we see, once again, we have an image that's very, very heavy in the sky. So at the very least, we would want to do something like this. All right? And notice this image is fairly nicely asymmetrical, but we're switching from more of an obvious vertical asymmetry to more of a horizontal asymmetry when we do this. So leave enough breathing room right through here, and just that crop alone would be, a nice comparison between the two. But let's try one additional one and see if we'd like something even better. And let's take this to the crop tool, and let's pull down this like we did before, but then let's address some of the rest of the image. Over here in the back, we've got these trees, which are nice components, but this one is visually appealing. But this is a lot of chaos going on back here. A lot of overlapping, not too much detail present. So I'm going to move this in like this. I might even decide to get rid of a little bit of snow. And I might also bring this over here to get rid of some of this on this side. All right, there we go. And then hit OK. Let's go back. And let's take a look at the 3 versions of this image and then compare them. Hit our N key. And here's our original. Here's our first crop. And then there's our second crop. I think each one is an improvement. I like the cleanliness of this one. But you have choices is the main point here. So there we've flipped this image in terms of the asymmetry from more of a vertical one to more of a horizontal one. And then we've gotten rid of some of the complexity, which simplifies the image and makes it more visually appealing. So there we go, cropping for asymmetry. The power of the crop demonstrated once again.